Bar chart is the second most popular chart type in the FL chart. So in this video, we are going to talk about the details and we are going to go through all the properties that we have in the bar chart to see what they do. So we are going to have a demo application or sample application to represent all the properties that we have in the bar chart. So stay with me. Hi there, this is Imaneo. Welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to talk about the FL chart and specifically bar chart that we have in the FL chart. So if you don't know what FL chart is, you can watch the video above. We have a video that is an overview over the FL chart. We explained everything. And basically it is a free and open source library or package for Flutter. We support 5 different chart types here. The first one is LineChart. Second one is BarChart. We have PieChart here, ScatterChart and RadarChart. So at the moment we support 5 types and in the future we will add more. And in the previous video we talked about the LineChart's details. So you can watch the video above to see how LineChart works. And in today's video I'm going to talk about the BarChart. So I have created a sample app here. It is an empty project. So we have material app and we have a home page with only one text. So let's add the FL chart dependency. Here we can say Flutter pub add FL chart. And when you run this command, you see that it adds the FL chart. So in the pub/spec.yaml file, you see that we have FL chart version 0.67.0. To make sure that this is the last version that we have, I can check the GitHub releases section here. Yeah, this is the latest version. And also you can check the pubdev website. So here you see that it is 0.67.0. So we are in the latest version. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to open the documentation here. Yes, you can click the read more here. And by the way, in the future, we might change the documentation here. At the moment, we have markdown file and later we might have some website or something like that for the documentations. And you can check the landing page. It is flchart.dev and here there's a link to the documentation. At the moment, it opens the same markdown file. It is here, but later we will replace it with something else. So always check the landing page and here we have the documentation section. Okay, so let's get started. At first, we need to create a bar chart widget and inside that we have bar chart data. So this is a pattern that we use for all kind of charts here. You have a chart and inside that you have the chart data. So you can replace bar with pie, radar, scatter or any kind of chart that you have. For example, in PieChart, you have PieChart and PieChart data. The pattern is the same. And here we have swap animation duration and swap animation curve. As you know, when you change the chart data, it animates to the new state of the chart. So you can handle the animation, duration, and also animation curve using these 2 properties. Okay, so let's create a bar chart in our sample app or demo app. In the main file, I will add an aspect ratio and child is a container for now. And I'm going to remove this constant here because container cannot be a constant. Okay, and let's add some margin maybe. Okay, and yeah. And as a child, we can have a bar chart. So I'm going to disable my copilot. Okay, so I'm going to import the FL chart. As you see here, we have the FL chart and inside that we have everything because we export all the files that you need to work with the FL chart. So you just need to import the FL chart here. And here we need to have a bar chart data. Okay, so let's run it to see what happens. Okay, let me remove this background, and at the moment we have an empty chart with this widget. So let's see what properties do we have here. Yes, we can start with the bar chart data, and inside that we have these properties. So BarChart data is the toppest data class that we have in the FL chart. It's like a tree of properties. For example, here we have bar group, and each bar group contains these properties. And for example, here we have bar rows, and again bar rows has these properties, and it's like a tree. And the toppest node is BarChart data. So let's get started with the bar groups. Bar groups is a list of BarChart group data. It shows some bar lines together. You can provide one item per one group to show normal bar chart. So I'm going to explain you what does it do. You can open the landing page, and in the examples app, we provided some samples. Here you can open the bar chart, and here, for example, we have a bar chart which is a normal bar chart. We have one line per group. But here, for example, we have a grouped bar chart, and in each group we have 2 lines. Also here we have a bar chart with 1 line inside each group. Yeah. Again, here we have 2 lines per group. So you can have 1 line inside your bar group, or you can have multiple. So for example, here we have 2 lines in one group. And yeah, I'm going to add it here. Bar groups is a list, and inside that we need to have bar chart group data. Okay. As you see, inside that we need to provide X. For example, we can say X is 0 here. And also we have a list of bar rows. So here we explained what bar rows is. It's a list of BarChartRod data that are actual bar lines that we have. So I'm going to add a bar row here, BarChartRod data. Okay, the first property that is required is toY. So we need to determine how long our bar is. For example, here I can say 10. And if I hot reload, you see that we have a single bar here. And I can copy paste this bar group to something like 12, and here we can have 4. And if you hot reload, you see that we have 3 different lines here. Yeah, for example, if you change it to 40, as you see, it animates. If you change it back to 4, you see the animation. So you can handle the animation using these 2 properties that I already talked about, the duration and the curve. And yeah, so for example, we can have 2 bar rows per group. Here, for example, 10, 10, 12, 12, 4, 4. You see that we have 2 lines in each bar group. For example, we can change it to 6, we can change it to 8, and we can change it to 14, for example. Yeah, as you see, we have grouped bar chart here. So this is bar groups. You can add multiple bar groups here to have in your bar chart. The other property is alignment. I will talk about the group space after that. So with the alignment, you can determine the alignment of bar groups. So let's see what does it accept. Alignment is a bar chart alignment. It's an enum. It has center, a space evenly, a space between, a start, end, and a space around. So it works exactly like what we have in the rows and columns. For example, you can say a start, and if you hot reload, you see that it moves to the start point of the chart. If you change it to end, it goes to the end point. And if you, for example, change it to center, it puts everything in the center, and space evenly is like this. I think the space evenly is the default value. We can check it out. Yes, you see that if you don't provide this property, the default one is applied and the default value is space evenly. And the other one is space around. Yeah. So this is the alignment property. The next property that we have is group space. So group space is the space between groups. The important point is that it applies only when the alignment is start, center, or end. So group space doesn't work when you have space evenly. It works only when you have end, start, and center. For example, we can set it to center, and this is the space between groups, as you see. Or you can change it to start. Yeah. And the next property is TitlesData. So TitlesData is a data class that determines how we show the titles around the chart. As you see, we have some titles here, here, and here. Oh, by the way, we need to change the X value here to 0, 1, and 2 to fix the titles. So titles data is a FL titles data. So we have the same concept in the LineChart. It accepts these properties. The first one is show. You can determine to show the titles or not. For example, you can disable the titles here using this property. Yeah, as you see, we removed all the titles that we have. And also we have these 4 properties: left titles, top titles, right titles, and bottom titles. So as you see, the default value for all of them is show titles true, and reserved size are some values here. For example, the top side is 30, the left side is 44. So let's see how does it work. I'm going to say that left titles, I want to have this one, and in the left titles we have axis titles. Here we have axis name widget, axis name size, which I'm going to explain what does it do. Axis name widget is something that you can put here. For example, this. You see that this is a title that you show on the axis. So it can be a widget. Here I provided a text, but you can provide anything that you want. For example, you can have an icon here, icons dot, for example, this alarm. Yeah, and also you have axis name size, which is something like the size that you need to have for this widget. For example, you can say 30, 20, 10. You see that it is the reserved space that we want to have for this axis name widget. And the next one is side titles, which is this one. And the other one is draw below everything, which is a boolean that can be true or false. So it is basically, so sometimes your chart goes over the chart. For example, when you have some tooltips, for example, here, as you see, we have tooltips, or maybe you have some stroke width that is around the bars, so it goes over the chart. And with this property, you can say that titles should be drawn on top of everything, or below or behind of the everything. So here we can say false, and here you see that titles are on top of the tooltip. So before that, you couldn't see the 14 here. If I change it back to true, you see that it goes under the or behind the tooltip. And yeah, this is the default value. And also we have side titles. So in the side titles, we have some properties to control these values here. And we already have 2 of them. The reserved size, again, is the size that we need for the titles. You need to provide this value at the moment, but in the future, we might find some ways to calculate it dynamically. But at the moment, you need to provide it. And yeah, for example, you can say 20 you see that, yeah, 40 is enough. And the other one is show title, which you can change it to false. You see that we don't show anything here. And the other property is get titles widget. So this is a callback that gives you a value and a titles meta. So here we have a value and title meta, and in return we need to return a text, return a widget. Basically we can return anything that we want, and we have a widget here. Let me comment it, I will explain it later. We can have a text, for example, and in the meta we have a formatted value, so you can return it. Let's remove this const here. Yeah, as you see, we have the titles here. You can change the color, for example. You can change the style of this text. Colors.blue, for example, and font weight to font weight.border. So because these are widgets, you can do anything that you want with these widgets. But the point is that you need to handle alignment here. For example, you can wrap it with an align widget and set alignment dot right to put the titles on the right side. And also you need to have a padding around it to have some space on the right side. Yeah, so it is frustrating to have padding, to have alignment every time that you want to have something here. So we have a widget that does everything, and it is called site title widget. So what site title widget does is basically the same thing that we wrote here. It has the alignment, it has the padding and everything that you want. You just need to return your widget. So if I copy paste this style, yeah, you see that it does everything and it works well. So you can replace it with an icon. Yeah, and you can, for example, change the size to 10. You see, it works well. It does the alignment, it does the padding, and it has everything. Okay, and also, for example, you can have a button here. You can have a text button. OnPressed is unimplemented, and here we have a text which is meta.formatted value. And you can click on these titles, or you can return different things per title. Here we can say in a switch case, if value is 0, return a text, for example, with meta.formatted value. And if it is 5, for example, return text button. And for everything else, return icon. Yeah, and then I will put this switch case, because in here we return a simple widget. Let me change it to constant, and now I will put it inside the child here, and let me hot reload it. You see that here we have a simple text, here we have a button, here we have icons. So let's change it to something else that represents an icon. Yeah, so you see that you can put anything that you want in the titles here. They are just widgets. And yeah, the other property is interval. So let me change it to the default implementation to see how does interval work? So basically interval is null and it is implemented by the chart. Yeah, it is null by default, but you can provide your own interval here. For example, let me change it to a bigger screen. You see, when the chart gets smaller, it automatically handles the values here. If you increase the chart size, it adds the titles here, and when you decrease the size, it removes the titles, and it does everything automatically under the hood. But if you change the interval to something like, for example, 10, you see every time the interval is 10. 10 is not good here. Let's change it to, for example, 4. Yeah, as you see, we have 4, and no matter how much space do we have. For example, if you have this much space, it is 4. If you have this much space, it is 4. Basically, you hard code the value here. So if you set the interval, you need to take care of the screen size. For example, if you have less space, you need to increase the interval. And if you have much more space, you need to decrease this interval to show more titles. It is up to you, but if you set it null, the FL chart handles everything. Okay, so we are done with the titles data. Let's jump to the next property. Oh, so this is the old variable that we had here. It is axis titles data, which is inside the title data at the moment. I already explained it. We need to update this documentation later. Yes, the next one is range annotations. So in the examples, I can explain you what are the range annotations. Yeah, in the line chart, you can see somewhere that we have ranges. For example, here we have a colored area, which is a range. Here in the green area, we have a range. So you can define some range inside your chart, and in the bar chart, for example, we can say range annotations. It is a range annotation class, and inside that we have horizontal range and vertical range. So for example, we will have horizontal range. It is a list of horizontal range annotation. Okay, by the way, I need to mention something, that we have some shared properties in the line chart, bar chart, and scatter chart. You can see them here. Yeah, this one, and this one. These 3 chart types are axis-based charts, so we have some shared concepts. For example, we have grid lines here. Also, we have grid lines here. So the concept is the same. You can learn it once and then you can reuse it later. Or for example, we have tooltips here, and the same is reused here and also here. Yeah. So the range annotations is something that we reuse over the axis-based charts, such as line chart, bar chart, and scatter charts at the moment. So here we have horizontal range annotations list, and I added one horizontal range annotation object which accepts y1 and y2. For example, I can say I want to have something from 4 to 8. And if I hot reload, you see that we have something here. The color is not high contrast here. Let's say we want to have red, for example. Yes, as you see, we have a red area or a red range annotation here. We can decrease the opacity here. Yeah, and also we have gradient, so you can decide to have a color or have a gradient over the range that you have, and you can have multiple of them. For example, we can have from 10 to 12, for example. Yes, and also we have vertical range annotations that works like the same. So I'm going to remove it, and the next property that I'm going to talk is background color. So with the background color, you can change the background of the chart. For example, colors.purple with opacity of, for example, 4. Yeah, you can change the background color of the chart using this property. And the next property is BarTouchData. So in the BarTouchData, you can customize the touch behavior of the chart. So the default behavior is this one. You see that when you hover the bars, it shows a tooltip on top of them. Here we have 14, we have 10, we have 8, we have 12. And also it works well on the mobile by tapping the chart. And yeah, you can override the behavior here. We can have BarTouchData. The first property that we have is enabled. So you can disable the touch behavior if you want. Yeah, sometimes you just want to show something in the screen that is not interactable, so you can disable it. And the next property is MouseCursorResolver. So let me revert it to enable. Yes, MouseCursorResolver. So MouseCursorResolver is something that allows you to customize the mouse cursor here. For example, if you see in the examples, in the scatter charts, as you see, when you hover the points here, the mouse cursor changes to something like click or select. Yeah, we implemented this behavior by overriding this property in the scatter chart. And yeah, basically it is a mouse cursor resolver with touch response, bar touch response. So it has a FL touch event and a response. So let's say that event, and the response is and we can return, what does it want? It wants a mouse cursor, and you can return click, for example. I think this font should be nullable. Yes. And if I hot reload, as you see, we have a mouse cursor like select or click everywhere inside the chart. That is not correct because we always returning the same click cursor here. We need to customize it. We need to say if response is null or response.spot that is touched is null. So in this case, we need to return what do we have here? As you see, we have wait, we have text, progress, click, grab, help. Which one is the default one? No drop, move, help, grab, none. Maybe this is the correct one. Oh, my cursor is disappeared. Yeah, as you see, it's really cool. So you can disappear the mouse here. As you see, we don't have the mouse here because we return none here. What if we return something else, for example, grab? Yeah, as you see here, we have grab mouse cursor, but here we have click. Yeah, by the way, you can customize this behavior with your logic, resize row, for example. Yeah, as you see, we have the resize mouse cursor here. Yeah, basically you can do anything that you want with this logic. And okay, the next property is touch tooltip data. So with the touch tooltip data property, you can customize the behavior of this tooltip here. So as you see, we have 14 here, we have 10 here, and it accepts a bar touch tooltip data. And here we can check the properties. Oh, by the way, one important point is that we have some documentation here, and also we have some documentation in the markdown file that we have here. For example, touch tooltip data. Yes, it's here. So we have the documentation for all the properties, and also we have the same documentation in the code base. So if you think it is easier to just read the code documentation, that is fine, because we use the same text that we have here in the markdown file. So you can just read the documentation here. And okay, so in the BarTouch tooltip data, we have tooltipRoundedRadius, which is a double, for example, tooltipRoundedRadius. Yeah, we can say 0. As you see, we have hard edges tooltip here. And the next property is tooltipPadding. So you can define the padding that we have here. You have tooltipMargin. For example, the default margin is 16, but you can override the margin. For example, we can say tooltipMargin to 0. As you see, it shows on top of the bars, exactly on top of the bars. And the other property is tooltip horizontal alignment. You can say FL horizontal alignment dot, for example, left. And as you see, it shows the tooltip on the left side of the bars. You can change it to center, which is the default value, or you can change it to the right. Yeah. And the next property is tooltip horizontal offset. So it is 0 by default. You can have, for example, right alignment with the tooltip horizontal offset of 10. And it shows the tooltip on the right side of the bar, also with 10 offset on the right side. And yeah, the other property is MaxContentWidth. So with this property, you can customize the width of tooltip. For example, we can say 400. And yeah, so when we have a large value here, for example, let's change it to, as you see that the tooltip width increases, and if you set a max width, for example 40, you see that it keeps the tooltip width less than or equals 40. So this is the max width. Okay, the next property is getTooltipItem and getTooltipColor. So with getTooltipItem, you can have a callback which gives you these properties, and you need to return a BarTooltipItem. And in the BarTooltipItem, we have text, we have text style, and let's grab the default implementation. Yeah, the default implementation is here. I just copy paste the logic here. Yeah, this is the logic that we have by default. We have a color that we get it from the road color. As you see, our road color is blue, and the tooltip text color is blue also. But you can change it, for example, colors.purple. And yeah, let's do this for here and here. Yeah, as you see, when you hover here, let's change it to something lighter, for example, yellow or orange. Yeah, as you see, when you hover, the text color is using this color that we have for the bar road. And it is because of the default implementation. We said that we have the BarChartRodData in the getTooltipItem callback, and you can decide what to return. So here the default implementation returns the colors.first. I mean, if it has gradient, it takes the colors.first, otherwise it gets the color. And we have a text style here. Let's put it directly here. And yeah, so for example, we can change the color to colors.green all the time. So you see that the color is green. You can change the logic, I mean, or you can make it bolder, W900. You see that it's here, or maybe we can change the color to white. I think it makes sense. Yeah, and also we have other properties here: text style, text align, text direction, children. Children is a list of text span, so you can add different texts here, and also you can decide per index or per bar y value to return something. Like here, for example, we always return white, but you can say switch group index, and on the 0 we return this one, on the 1 we return white, and on 2 we return this one. Otherwise we throw an exception, or otherwise we return again white, and we need to remove the const here. Okay, so you can decide to return, for example, a blue line here, you can return a yellow line here, and yeah, and here when you hover your mouse, you see that you have different colors for different bars. So basically you need to return a tooltip item when this callback is called. So we call this callback whenever we want to show a tooltip, so you can customize everything here. And the other property is getTooltipColor. So I think this is the tooltip background color. Again, we have this property as input, as the callback's input, and we need to return a color. For example, we can have this and return colors.gray. Yeah, you see that we change the color, or maybe we can return a black color here. And also you can return a transparent color, maybe to have just a number on top of the lines. We use this logic to show a beautiful sample here. I will show you in the bar chart. Yeah, as you see, we have some numbers here. These are actually some tooltips with the transparent background. So you can do this. And yeah, let's change it back to black. Actually, I like the black color. Okay, so what is the next property? Let's open the BarTouchTooltipData. Yeah, we explain getTooltipItem, we explain getTooltipColor. Here we have fit inside horizontally and fit inside vertically. So what is it? Sometimes your tooltip goes over the chart. For example, here we show it on top of the chart. This is not the area that is reserved for the chart. So you can set fit inside vertically to put the tooltip inside the chart. So for example, here we can say fit inside vertically true. And as you see, it doesn't go over the chart. It shows inside the chart. So yeah. And for here, we can say fit inside horizontally to move the tooltip inside the chart. Let's see, fit inside horizontally true. As you see, it shows it inside the chart. It doesn't go over the chart. You can enable these two properties. The other one is direction. We have tooltip direction. Let's see, what does it do? We can say top, which is the default one, I think. No, I think the default one is auto. And you can set bottom, so it shows tooltip on the bottom of the chart. And yeah, sometimes we have minus values. For example, here, let's add another one. And we can say 2y is -4 and -6. Yeah, as you see, here we have minus values. And let's add more. Let's add it here with 8 and 2, and also add a -1 here with 3 and 9, for example. And let's change the alignment to the default one, or to the center, maybe. Yeah, And here with the default behavior of direction with auto, as you see, we show the tooltips on the bottom for minus values, for the negative values, and on top for the positive values. So this is the auto. Okay, so what is the next property? The next property is tooltip border. So we can have tooltip border to show a border around the tooltip. It accepts a border side, so it is just like what we have in the Flutter. It has a color, colors dot red maybe, and it has a width, for example 2. And when we hot reload, you see that we have a border around the tooltip. Let's change it to 8, for example, or 6. Yeah, 6 is better. And yeah, I think we are done with the touch tooltip data. Yeah, we covered all the properties, and the next property that we are going to explain is TouchExtraThreshold. So it is basically a threshold around the lines that determines in which space the touch behavior can work. For example, we can say edge insets.0. So in this case, you need to exactly touch the line to have the effect, to have the tooltip. Or you can increase it, for example, to all 10. So in this case, from here, you see that the touch behavior works. It works around the chart. And the next property is this one, allow touch bar backdraw. So I'm going to explain it later because we need to know about the backdraw in the bar chart. And the next property is handle built-in touch. So this is basically the built-in touch that we have. You can disable it. This is for when you want to implement your own implementation of touch behaviors. So you have to disable it. For example, when you want to implement the touch callback, you have to disable this one. Yeah, it disables everything, and then you are able to implement your own touch behavior or touch system. Let's get back to the properties that we have. Here we have X, we have bar roads, and the next property is group vertically. So this is false by default. We group the bars horizontally beside each other, but sometimes you need to show them on top of each other. So it says if set to true, it shows the bars below or above each other. It stacks them on top of each other. But if it is false, it shows bars beside each other. So this is the default behavior. By the way, I'm going to explain this later because we need to have some knowledge about the bar roads here. Okay, now let's jump into the BarChartRodData properties. So we covered toY and color. These are required properties, but we have a bunch of optional properties here. We can start from this property, from Y. So you have toY as a required field, but from Y is optional. So it is null by default, but you can define, for example, a number here. It says that show the bar road from 5 to 10. As you see, it shows from here to here. Or here, for example, you can say show from 10 to 14. As you see, it shows from here to here. And as you remember, we had a property called group vertically, which is false by default. But here you can set it to true to group the bars on top of each other. So by default, we show them side by side. But if you want, you can set the group vertically to true to show them on top of each other. And also, for example, you can have another one, which is from 14 to 20, for example. Yeah, as you see, it shows here. And let me remove it back. Okay, and the next property that we have inside the BarChartRodData is color and gradient. So in the gradient, we have the typical gradient that we have in the Flutter. You can return a linear gradient, for example. It is too simple. You provide a list of colors, and it shows the gradient color on the chart. For example, you can change the begin to alignment bottom center, Yeah, you see that we have the gradient here, but also you can have the color. If you provide both of them, gradient overrides the color. Yeah, and the next property is width. So you can, it is 8 by default, but you can change it to, for example, 20. You see that it increases the line width. And the next one is border radius. So you can define the border radius for the bar road that you provide it for. You can say border radius.0, for example, and it shows a square line here. And the next property is BorderDashArray. So this is for when you have a border side. Let me add, for example, border side of colors.black, width of 2, and here we can say border dash array 2 and 8, so, or maybe 6 and 8. So here we have a convention which says how much should we show the line and how much should we have the space. So you can, for example, change it 8 to 8. It means that show in 8 points and have a space for 8 points. We can have it here, for example, for the rounded radius. And the next property is BarChartRodData. So this is an important property. In the BarChartRodData, we need to provide this object, background BarChartRodData. So it shows something on behind of the bar that we have. And for example, we can say from y is 0 to y is, for example, 20. And we need to set the show to true to show it. It is false by default. And as you see, we have something on behind of the bar that we have here. And for example, we can change the color to colors.black with opacity of, for example, 10%. And as you see, we have it on behind the chart. So in the design, sometimes we have something like this one. As you see, we have bars here, and also we have something behind of them. So you can achieve this design using this property, BarChartRodData. And as you remember, in the touch behavior, we had something like allow touch bar backdraw. So the default behavior is false, I think. So you cannot touch here. It doesn't work. It is inactive, but you can set it to true. And if you touch here, it triggers the touch event and you see the tooltip here. Yeah. And the next property is road stack items. So this is something that is important. For example, you can have some stacked area inside a single bar road. For example, let me remove it and let me remove this one. Yeah, for example, let's edit this blue line here with the value of 12. It is here. And suppose that we can have road stack items. Okay, so this is a list of BarChart road stack item. So here you can provide a list of BarChart road stack item. And here you have to provide a from y and to y and a color. For example, we can say from y is 0, to y is 5, color is colors.red. And also we can have another stack item which is from 5 to 10, which is blue. And we have another one which is 10 to 12, which is the max value here. We can say green. And if you hot reload, you see that it adds these colors into the single line that we have here. For example, we can change the width here to 20 to see that we have a stacked area here. For example, we can change it to 4 and change it to 8. You see that we have stacked sections here. yeah, I think this was the last property that we had in the BarChartRodData. And yeah, also in the stack we have from by to by color and also border size, so you can have borders for here. Okay, so I think we are done. Let's take a look again. We had BarChartData that we explained everything, BarChartGroupData, BarChartAlignment, BarChartRodData, yes, we talked about them. Background BarChartRodData, so we also explained it. BarChartRodStackItem, BarTouchData, BarTouchTooltipData, BarTooltipItem, BarTouchResponse, and BarTouchSpot. Yeah, and also here we have some GIF animations that are taken from the example app that we have here. And yeah, so you can take a look at the example app. We have these beautiful samples, and if you want, you can take a look at the source code here. For example, this one, as you remember, I said that we have transparent as the background color for the tooltips here. You can check the source code here, and if you search for a transparent, you see that we have a tooltip with a transparent color. And yeah, okay. In the next video, we are going to talk about PieChart here. We are going to talk about the details. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe the channel and like the video. It supports me. And also you can take a look at the about section here. And here we have the support section. You can buy me a coffee, you can donate Bitcoin, and also you can become a sponsor here as a GitHub sponsor. So this is the most reliable way of support for me because I can count on it and I can put more time on the FL chart. And have a nice day. See you in the next video. Bye.